Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 19th of February 2019. So welcome everyone, welcome to this Tuesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is Nasdaq100. Now looking at this index, of course yesterday the index closed slightly in the negative territory, but kind of continued to balance around this level that I was talking about, the 7,050. Now of course looking at this chart, it's very, you can see it's still very close to this short-term upside support line. Now looking at the cash index of Nasdaq right now, you can see that it's currently balancing around this upside support line, slightly below the 7,050 level. So of course this is going to be very interesting to see if this manages to rebound and push higher again, or eventually we're going to see this break below this upside support line, and of course then if such a thing happens, then yeah, further declines are possible, especially towards the psychological 7,000 level. But slightly below this the psychological 7,000 level, we do have the 6,968 area approximately there. You could in a way round it up towards the 70, so 6970 basically. We're also going to be watching that one. A nice good drop below that could confirm a forthcoming lower low here, of course, and we could see this one traveling further down here, maybe even actually going all the way towards the 6,865 or the 6,840 level marked here by the low of 8th of February. So for now guys, certainly as long as this line remains intact, certainly we will continue targeting higher levels. But given the fact that looking at the cash index right now, it is very close to this upside support line, let's see what it wants to do. Let's see if it actually manages to rebound back higher here. And in a way, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could in a way ignore this 7,050, but raise your resistance level, this important resistance level, towards the 7,075, which was marked here by the high of yesterday. So, or sorry, should I say Friday. So yep, basically a nice good pop above the 7,075 level could open the path towards the slightly higher levels. But for now, given the fact that it's very close, the cash index is very close to this upside support line, let's see how it performs. Let's see what it wants to do. We need to see a nice good strong rebound to the upside, and then of course a break of the 7,075 level in order to kind of consider higher levels. On the downside, again, a break below this could initially send this index towards the psychological 7,000 level, but slightly below that we do have the 6,970 level approximately there. So a nice good drop below that could open the path towards lower levels. Jumping into one commodity, or should I say precious metal, which I was covering yesterday in my videos, in my Traders Tea Time, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this one. We were trading around the 808 level, so we had a nice pop here to the upside, and now it's kind of aiming for this 815 level. So it didn't reach it yet, but eventually if this fails to withhold the bull pressure here, then yep, further acceleration to the upside is possible. But the level that we're keeping a close eye on here is the 825. So You can see that in the past it also acted as a good temporary area, temporary resistance area here as well. So like I said, for now guys, we're not gonna aim for all the way here higher yet, because we just want to see how this is going to perform, because at some point, to be honest, we could see maybe a bit of a retracement back down. So that's why for now we're just gonna take it slow and continue monitoring this 815 level. A nice good push above that could open the path towards the 825 level. So for now, be very careful, be very cautious, and don't forget to have your stop loss in place. Jumping into EURSEK now, a few pairs basically. So of course, one of the worst performers today is the Swedish krone, and you see what's happening here. So basically, on the release of the Swedish inflation numbers, we saw this strong spike higher, breaking all the three resistance, all the three main resistance levels of the pivot points here. So it found good resistance today near the 10.6225 area approximately there, but from where it kind of retraced back down, so it's currently sitting here. Certainly at some point we could see a bit of retracement, more retracement to the downside, but for now, of course, judging by this picture, it is looking more bullish than bearish. But don't forget that we do have some good potential areas of resistance here. So especially, you can see that today, yes, it managed to break it to the upside, this 10.6085 level, which was marked here by the high of the 6th of September last year. But if it decides to travel again, but then travels again higher, but then fails to drive above this level, this is where it could become interesting for the bears. Potentially we could see a bit of a slide lower here, a bit of a correction, of course, because for now it's the pair is kind of still trading above this upside support line. So in a way, if you see this one traveling lower still, like I said, as long as this upside support line remains intact, from the medium-term perspective, or even actually from the longer-term perspective, we will continue targeting higher levels. But for now, guys, certainly it is quite extended here to the upside. In a way, it could have some steam left for another push higher, but again, we're keeping a close eye on this 10.6085 level, approximately there, marked near the highs of the 6th of September last year. So keep your eyes on that one. A nice good push above that, of course, could send this pair a little bit higher here towards the highs that we saw here back at the end of August last year, and that was near the 10.6950. but again, like I said, for in order to kind of consider that level, we need to see a nice good push further up here, further above the the 10.6085 level. So but for now, judging from the picture on the 4-hour chart, certainly we could see a bit of retracement, but again, it's very difficult to see exactly where the retracement might come. Will it come a little bit higher here, or actually will it come just somewhere around here? So but in a way, what you could do from here, what you could look at on the downside, is of course this little area around the 10.57, and just to kind of show you what that level was here, so this level right here, the 10.57 was approximately near the highs of the 14th of September. So in a way, if this decides to drop below this, could open the path towards slightly lower levels, and this is where we could see that little retracement further. In a way, what you can also keep an eye on here is, if you draw the Fibonacci extension levels here, you can see where exactly we could see, retrace further. So in a way, you can see that we already retraced about 23.6% on the Fibonacci, but if it continues to travel further down, certainly the 50%, which is around the 10.5420 level, approximately there, 2025, something like that. So this could be that level to watch out for, if this of course decides to drop below this 23.6 area again. So for now, guys, be very careful with this one. It is certainly it is quite overextended here to the upside, but again we could see the bulls jumping in here again and pushing this one higher, and maybe finding some resistance near the 10.6085 level. So let's see how it performs. For now, certainly we would like to see a bit of retracement here, a bit of a correction to the downside, but at this point it's a bit difficult to say where exactly this is going to come because if this decides to drop below the 23.6, then yep, wonderful, we could see maybe a further slide here towards the 38.2 or even the 50% retracement here. But for now, keep on watching this level right here at around 23.6. Let's see if it continues. If it continues to hold, we could see maybe a slight push higher. But if it fails here a little bit, then yep, we could target slightly lower levels, but just don't go crazy here on the lower levels because, like I said, it's still looking bullish overall. Jumping into EURCAD now, this one is moving nicely to the upside here. So it was trading above the pivot, but finally getting a nice boost here. So overall, how it looks here, you can see that since the 1st of January this year, basically the pair was on a nice slide lower, and it would be nice to point out here, it was trading below this little short-term downside resistance line. So in a way, guys, this is what you could keep a close eye on. A nice good pop above this could open the path back up here towards the levels that we saw in the end of January, and of course maybe we could then travel further up. But for now, be very cautious, be very careful. You can see that it is trying to push higher. Certainly the level that we're keeping a close eye on here is this 150.30. A nice good pop above the 150.30 could open the path towards a retest of this downside resistance line, but if this fails to withhold the bulls, then yep, it could be opening the path towards much higher levels again. So but for now, certainly this is looking more bullish than bearish. Let's see how this plays out. As long as this downside resistance line remains intact, we will of course continue targeting lower levels. The only thing is, like I said, maybe it had already enough of trading below this downside resistance line, but then again, we cannot really say that yet, we cannot state that yet, because we need to see a confirmation break first before we can assume the upside. So for now, guys, keep your eyes on this one. Let's see how this plays out. Jumping into USDJPY, now this is a bit of a tricky one here, because initially this morning especially, it was trying to push higher but kind of failed to drive above the 110.80. so since then it kind of reversed back down, and now it's currently finding good support around the pivot, today's pivot, which is around the 110.55. Certainly if this decides to drop further down here and continues to drive lower, where we're going to keep on monitoring is of course this little area here at around 110.25, marked by the lows of Friday. So basically a nice good drop below the 110.25 could send this pair towards a retest of the psychological 110 level, which is kind of the also acted as a nice upper bound of the little range here that the pair was trading in since around the mid-January, but now it could play the role as a nice area of support. But again, in order to kind of consider all these lower levels here, we need to see initially, of course, a drop below the pivot. For those who are like to maybe risk it a little bit more, let's put it that way, then you could of course keep your eyes on this little low right here at around 110.43, something like that, approximately there. So basically a nice good drop below this could potentially open the path towards the 110.25, but if that fails to withhold, then yep, further declines towards the psychological 110 level could be possible. But again I'll repeat myself, guys, we need to see a drop below the pivot here today, and only then we will consider this area here around the 110.43. but if that fails, only then, basically, long story short, guys, step by step, move step by step. Don't over trade this one. Just see how it performs around these key support and resistance levels. As you can see also from the upside here, for us to, let's say, get comfortable with higher levels, we would would need to see, now we would need to see a nice good push above the 110.80 level, and only then we will target these highs that we saw here back on the 14th of February around the 111.15, 13 approximately there. So for now, guys, probably continue observing this one, watch the levels, and then move accordingly. Jumping into the last pair quickly here, and that's GBPUSD. Now this one is having a nice push. Certainly somehow the British pound is attracting more interest right now, and we can see that now it's pushing higher. It's testing this key area of resistance near the 129.60. The big question here is this going to stay above this today, or actually is this going to remain below it? Now don't get me wrong, I mean, it is looking quite positive for now from the technical perspective, because it's trading now above this downside resistance line taken from the low, the high of the 29th of January. It continues to push higher, but let's see how this plays out near the 129.60, because if it fails to drive above this, then we could see maybe a correction here back down. But if it continues to push higher here and starts moving towards the psychological 130 level, now a nice good break above that could potentially confirm a possible move towards these higher levels here around the 130.45. So, but of course, for now, guys, all eyes are on the 129.60, and if this pair remains, if the daily candle remains here above this level here, above the 129.60, there is a good chance we could see further acceleration here towards the psychological 130, but a nice good break above the 130 level could potentially interest even more buyers here, and we could see this one traveling further up. So for now, certainly it is looking more bullish than bearish, but always have that little element of the doubt, given the fact that we still have the ongoing Brexit problems, and of course, like I said, this can always the British pound can always get affected by any bad negative headline in the news. So that's why, guys, be very cautious with this one. Certainly for now it seems to be like a quiet moment, and probably that's why it's accelerating to the upside, but again, be very cautious what comes out on the news around Brexit. So yep, let's keep an eye on the price action on this one, guys. Okay, thank you very much for watching and listening. I'll have to wrap it up here. I hope you found it useful, guys, and if you want to join me tomorrow morning at my Traders and Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.